Hello, my name is Vincent Bruckert, and I live in Chicago, Illinois. I have been a guest, an employee, and a friend of the Mountain Chalet and the Melvilles since 1986. I love Aspen dearly, and I love the Melvilles dearly, and my heart goes out to everyone there today. I wish I was with you at Crossroads. I have been, besides skiing, enjoying great food, and having wonderful conversations, I have been enjoying Aspen also for the stories I've been collecting. And I've been writing down and turning into somewhat fictionalized stories the lives of the people at the Mountain Chalet. Today I'd like to share with you my prologue to this collection. The boy's name was Ralph, and America was his backyard. The girl's name was Marian. She dreamed America every night. By the time they met, they had already learned their reading, writing, and arithmetic. They had already survived a Great Depression, lived off war rations, and now they were ready to build their lives in the truly American city in the Rocky Mountains named Aspen. America had length and height and width and circumference, so much so they could run with it, climb over it, hike across it, stumble down it, circle it over and over until they found exactly where they wanted to start exploring it. And they could ski it. A ski back then, when America was a backyard, was the name for one of those wooden planks that people fastened as tightly as possible to the soles of their winter boots. Skis were like long and flexible rafts that they stood on top of as they slid down the mountain. And the skis were the best tools in the shed. Ralph loved all his tools, and all his tools were simple. To make a tree fuel for warmth, he chose his axe. To make that tree fit for a wall, to block the icy wind that blew off the ocean, across the hills and valleys of Massachusetts, New Hampshire, and Maine, he used his buzzsaw. To make two pieces of wood stick together, so he had walls around the warming fire, he put a nail through them with his hammer. And to make a ladder so he could step up and see all over New Hampshire, through those Vermont mountains, beyond the Appalachian Mountains, the Allegheny Valley, the rivers Ohio and Mississippi, all the way through the plains of Nebraska and Kansas, until new mountains blocked his view of the ocean on the other side of America. He needed a few more nails. And to get these nails from his shed next to his house, on the top of the hill directly behind it, he carried them in a wagon, the same one he used to bring the firewood back down the hill so that he could warm the house. And it definitely needed a fire burning in it. Cold, icy winters were a regular part of the boy's life. The freeze came early in the season and stayed late. It brought snow to the New England mountains that filled his eyes with the bigness of America. That blast of chill kept the snow on the mountains, and so those skis in the shed got their use. Ralph grew up in Massachusetts, went to college in New Hampshire. His favorite place to run around and eventually ski back then was Tuckerman's Ravine, a formidable slope full of gullies and chutes off the ridge, and a headwall that was nearly more ice than snow. Tying long slabs of wood to his feet, here it was that Ralph learned to ski, and here it was that he learned to emulate his friend Joe Brookie Dodge, the fastest boy in the ravine. Brookie grew up to become an Olympic skier, and his tales of travel inspired Ralph to make his own way west after graduating from Dartmouth. When Ralph arrived in 1950, Aspen had already housed the silver rush in the 19th century, an economic bust in the 20th, the 10th Mountain Division in preparations for World War II, its first music festival in 1949, and most recently, the FIS World Ski Championship that winter. The boy that was growing into a man looked around and saw all that had been built already, especially the new barracks that were constructed for the skiers that winter, and he felt the place had already been built up too much. It was a little too saturated for civilization, even then for someone raised with a New Hampshire mountain for playground. Still, Ralph stuck around and began working at the pharmacy on Main Street. Matthews it was called then, Carl's today. This plum gig behind the soda fountain at the center of a town's social and business activity introduced Ralph to the who and what of Aspen. Besides friendships that were formed there that would last a lifetime, he found himself another job, flipping burgers at the Sun Deck on Ajax. Well, he wanted this job because of the ski pass that came with it. Something was missing. He wanted to be a lodge owner. not its helping hand. So at the end of the ski season, Ralph returned to Massachusetts to work as a carpenter's apprentice. But he learned to rebar foundational walls, tape drywall, lay sewer and water pipes, frame windows, and he never forgot about Aspen. Its crisp light snow, sunny afternoons, its nearness to so many 14,000 feet peaks fueled his drive. He wanted to save his money and return to buy land and build a lodge of his own. And so he returned in the winter of 1953. Meanwhile, Marian was enjoying life in college. After growing up in Philadelphia, she headed to Bucknell in Lewisburg, Pennsylvania to study. After graduating, a friend of hers persuaded her not to continue east to Philadelphia or New York City, or even return back home to Pittsburgh. This friend had a more ambitious and daring adventure in mind. "Let's head west to Colorado," she suggested with absolute insistence. Well, Marian had skied before, and she liked to ice skate, and the mountains were certainly going to be proving themselves full of young bachelors. And she could always return home, right? Only that she never did for long. By the time she arrived for the 1955 ski season, Ralph had bought for a mere pittance, since it was all he could afford, about $2,000, a lot across from the ski jump landing site at the bottom of Ajax Mountain. Then the journey to the heart of America, by which I mean, when I say America, love, family, wisdom, and sharing all the good things that make up America. That's when the journey to America kicked into high gear. Thank you, and God bless each and every one of us. Thank you, Ralph, for giving us so much of yourself throughout your wonderful life. Take care.